YouTube. I'm sorry. Yeah, we are live on YouTube right now.
We're back again out on 508 Live with your host, Papee Paye, Money Man Mill Home, 5-man Burgess, and the best producer in the world, Milheezy J Media. What's happening, baby? No, for real. I'm not skipping any of this. My man, the Milhome got a crop top on, and I'm not letting it slide. I promise. First of all, it's not a crop top. What? It fits. It fits. But I'm hot. You feel me? Hey, that's a good thing because it's 80 degrees today. It's very hot. I hope you guys are staying hydrated. But I have to say one thing. No, hold on.
Okay, what you got?
I'm looking at this panel right now, and there's not a lot of white people on this panel. So I got crackers. Just to fill it in.
So, hey, listen, fun fact. I found out the white part of me. Hi, guys. My people here. German, English, and Irish.
Yeah? Oh, okay. Congratulations, buddy.
Just found out that's a little 25% of me. That's what it is. I never knew. Did we talk about that on here before, right?
No, I never knew what they were.
I'm Puerto Rican, Cuban, and then a little bit of white, but I never know what the little bit of white is until recently. We found out.
All jokes aside, though, besides the rich crackers, I do want to get this panel more diverse. And I want to get more people in here.
You should have brought out the saltines. The Ritz are more like,
nah,
they got a little bit more flavor.
They got flavor. I needed their saltine.
I can't with you, bro.
But today's going to be a very special show. But before we get into it, I kind of want to get through like we skipped last week.
We skipped last week.
Yes, we did.
I was here last week. Where was you?
What? Last week? I wasn't here last week. You was here last week?
I was about to say.
I wasn't even here last week. Right. But I just want to know how you guys' week been going. How's your mental health? How are you guys feeling through the 2 weeks that we haven't been here, the week we haven't been here? Go ahead first.
Listen, first and foremost, I gotta say I miss you guys, man. I always miss you guys. A week without the show, I feel like something's missing. That's messed up.
It's fun to not ring.
I definitely felt like something was missing. You know what I mean? Not getting ready for the show or whatever, because like I feel like it's just become a part of my weekly routine now. You feel me? So it's like when we don't have the show, it's just a little off. Like, what do I do with myself? You feel me? Yeah. I'm at home twiddling my thumbs like, oh no, I
can't be late for something. I need to be late for something.
Hey, no, you know what? Maybe we needed that week off. Because I came early today.
Buddy.
So hey,
first of all, you got to know.
That makes sense.
You should know it's going to be a great day. Yeah. Milhome came here at 4:59 today.
Surprise.
First time in history has he ever been early on.
And when he says history, my friend, since the inception of this show,
before Christ,
and since before this platform.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
like I've never seen Milhome on time for a thing ever in my entire life. Maybe for work because he's getting paid.
Wait, and so
I call all my managers right now. You can call all my managers right now.
When I finally decided to look at the clock once you got here, it was only 5:15, and it dawned on me that it was only because I'm thinking it's like 5:45.
Right. Y'all seeing him through the door. But I'm thinking it was Ron Burgess. He was always precisely on time, but he was a little late today.
I was late. That's late.
You're so early that when you're a little, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You weren't late enough, but it felt later than usual.
Yeah, usual. It just made no. You hit by 5:30. You sitting down, your hands is crossed, you ready to go. Way earlier than him. Yeah, and then Milhome 2 minutes is like 3 days.
Come on,
you know what I mean. So if you want Milhome to DJ any event, tell them it's 2 days before the event is.
Right.
Just a heads up.
If your party's on the 18th.
You know what I noticed? You know what I noticed too? What I realized? You don't call me when it's running close to time now. You'd be like, nah, he FaceTimes me. Show me where you're at.
I want to show me where you're at. I don't want to hear 5 minutes.
That's how real it is.
Go hold 5 minutes.
What about you? How's your week looking?
It was good, bro. Chilling, bro. I miss y'all too, bro.
Yeah?
I miss y'all too, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I miss...
Love you, my man.
100%.
I think the biggest thing, bro, what I took from it, bro, is like, bro, every season, bro, every team got a bye week, bro. The bye week, now we're going to come back strong. This about to be a good show. Like, we well rested. We got some. We took a mental break to come back for this 5 mental show right now today. So I feel like it was just a little bye week, and every team need a bye week, bro. They mandatory, bro.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
What about you, my G?
Of course, I was stress and anxiety. I'm thinking, oh my God, a whole week off without the show. What are we going to do? We don't want to disappoint the audience. But you know, life be lifing sometimes.
Yeah, that's
and we all had our own individual things going on. Yeah. More on this side, less on that side. We definitely had some things that we had to
I was going through it, buddy.
In order to come correct and bring 100% every single time. But with that being said, it has been a nice, good 2 weeks. got plenty of rest in over this past week, especially with the weather changing. Your tattoo is fire, bro.
Good looks, bro.
Good looks, bro.
That's my daughter, yeah.
The brand new one.
Oh, the brand new one.
Yeah.
Baby,
I love
DJ
it.
Milheezy.
That's for
Yeah,
me.
thank you, bro. I just got it.
That's my
I just got
ADHD
it.
kicking in. Tiny things.
If
He's talking to he.
If y'all can't see it,
Yep, they
appreciate
can
y'all,
see it.
DJ Milheezy, man. Y'all holla at me,
Yeah.
baby.
All right, anyway.
I appreciate that.
So the weather's changing, and I don't know if this is the same for you guys, but I've never been diagnosed with this, but I have a real sense of maybe I have a little bit of the seasonal depression.
Oh, yeah.
Because
It's
once the spring date hit,
You start
and then-
smiling a little more?
right? And then once the temperature started rising a little bit more,
Yeah.
and once I got up, because I usually wake up at 4:30 in the morning because I got a very early job.
Yeah.
And the sun's
And
out.
once I see that sun up
Oh,
before
yeah.
I gotta go outside,
Sun's
I'm
out,
more
birds out.
happy.
Surfing,
I'm
Guns
happy.
out.
I feel lighter. I feel physically like I haven't lost weight, but it feels that way. You know, Ringer's in the studio.
It is
It's
what
always
it is.
the
Love it.
first.
First of all,
I love it.
I'm doing much better. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I'm doing way better too. I was going through a little bit of 1-2 mentally because again, my father passed away, his birthday passed, and then my brother April 13th was his 2-year, so it kind of wasn't really like I wasn't in the right spirits, you know what I mean? But then I started praying a little much more. I was trying to like just get back in tune with God, one for me. And yeah, I feel great now though. I feel like my mental is getting better. I feel more uplifted and I'm excited to just get the show going. You know
I'm
what I
excited
mean?
to get the show going too.
Absolutely.
So, say less. You can kick me off. It's fine. That's where we're going.
Amazing.
I'm gonna make my way. Stage left or stage right? It's my right, but I think it's stage left.
Yeah, stage
So,
left on the
to
camera.
left, to the left.
But
all right, go ahead.
We have a
Let's
special
introduce
guest
our
today.
man.
My man, the man, the myth, and the legend. The name is Kweku Colecraft. How to say it precisely. I don't know if you guys seen the description, but Kweku himself, he's a scientist. He's an entrepreneur. He is a valedictorian for Abby Kelly. He is top of his class WPI, business owner. The man, the myth, and the legend, Kweku.
Welcome, baby. Welcome, baby.
Amazing, man. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad
Great
to have you here,
Great
my
to have
G.
you, 100%.
The way me and Kweku met, I was playing basketball. You guys already know I'm the best in the world. You don't have to wear it out.
First of all,
I was beating Kweku on the basketball
Don't
court.
forget, three-point contest.
So called.
I was beating Kweku on the basketball court. And then me and Kweku kind of like started chopping it up. I liked his energy. He knew a good friend of mine that me and him really was close while I was growing up, and we never crossed paths. So me and Kweku kind of just like kicked it off. And
Organically.
Organically.
Yeah,
Geez, speak
sure.
Papee. And yeah, we met up one day after, like, besides basketball, we met up one day just to talk about his spending.
Always been spending that pretty penny, huh?
Yeah, just to figure out how to budget, because obviously he's a scientist, so he makes decent money.
Yeah.
But he just didn't know where to put his money, so we started figuring out a monthly plan for him to be able to, like a financial advisor. But I'm not a financial advisor, so don't ask me, because I spend money too. But I spend money wisely now, as I grew older.
Now.
Yeah.
Now.
But Kweku, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man.
You know what I mean? I kind of want to talk a little bit about your journey and how first of all, tell us about valedictorian. Who is Kweku? Tell me about who is Kweku.
So, the way I like to start this story is when I was 4 years and 3 days old.
4 years and 3 days. Yeah, it's gonna be a long story, guys.
Let's go.
And 3 days old, my father, and a little bit about him, he came to this country at the age of 40 with $0 in his pocket, and my brother on the way. He grinded, and one thing that he emphasized from a youth was education. He said, I'm going to put my sons in a system that can give them the best chance to succeed. So at 4 years and 3 days old, my brother was around 7. He finished third in his class, so, it worked.
Okay.
I entered the Kumon program, and then from a young age,
What's the Kumon program?
So Kumon is a Japanese math and reading program, and full disclosure, I'm a professional tutor now, and I use the things that I learned for my business. But in doing my research for my program, it's basically like a boot camp, like kind of like a military style math and English boot camp.
Okay.
So from the age of like 4 to like 16, every day I was grinding.
Ooh,
30
That's
minutes
deep.
to 2 hours a day.
That's
So, you know, I well exceeded.
working on your brain.
Yes, sir.
Amazing.
And honestly, that bore fruit. When I was in high school, literally freshman year, I was in a senior level class. They had to create a specialty class at Ivy Kelly for me and another student in order, because we basically finished the curriculum.
Wow,
by
that's
sophomore
insane.
year.
All right.
That's insane.
So I became the valedictorian. I went to WPI. I got my bachelor's in chemical engineering, master's in material science and engineering, and I have been working for 4 years and 4 months at Alstom Energy. It's a battery company in the Malden area. Up and coming.
I wouldn't tell people where I work because people be creeps.
It's public knowledge.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what were some of the toughest challenges that you have faced? Like, you know what I mean, from that period, from would you say 4 years and 4 days up until 16? You know what I mean? Was it easy to get distracted? Was it like, you know, how was that process for you? Do you feel like, I mean, obviously it worked out in your favor, but like at the time when you're going through it, how was that for you?
Honestly, like I always tell people that unlike many people, I feel like, so the hardest challenge I faced up until obviously the mental health challenges that we're going to get more into is probably like basketball. Because like from 4 years old,
Now it's all starting to make sense. Because he texts me every day, who we're going to play one-on-one again. We're going to play one-on-one, and I beat him every time. So I think I need to give him 4. He needs to go back when he was 4 years and 3 days to start training in basketball.
Go ahead. I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, like school was a breeze, and the Kumon program was a breeze. I don't know where this is where, you know, we get into, you know, the nature and nurture coming together where, like,
of course.
you know, I definitely believe that God gifted me such that, you know, my father, you know, aligning with that gift and putting me in that program just shot me to where. So school was never a challenge. Always honor roll. Always all A's.
That's
B's.
amazing.
Like,
That's amazing.
you know, up until high school, I was in a program called International Baccalaureate, and it's a very rigorous program. But you know, I even up through college, honestly, college was not difficult for me at all. You know, it's just the tools that I had learned literally carried me through. So basketball, probably that was my biggest challenge. Like a bit of that story. I think I didn't make the team freshman year. I made JV sophomore year. Junior year, I didn't make the team. Became a team manager, and it was literally one practice where, you know, as much as I have my weaknesses, one thing that I can do,
all of them.
one thing I can do
What?
is shoot the rock.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he got a
So
shot.
he could shoot it,
Yeah, he
but
got.
I mean,
it got to go in.
I gotta go.
that is the one
Nah,
skill.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
You leave him open, he might 45 out of 50%.
45 out of 50.
45 out of 100% of the time he might make it.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty all right. All right.
But my coach at the time, there was this kid from a school in the region who was known for shooting threes. So he was like, because I would practice with the team just to get better. He was like, you know, put on a jersey and do that. And that practice, I ended up making like 10 threes in a row. So he was like, all right. And we didn't have like a spot up shooter. Like even to this day, I was just in Florida and I told him like, yo, call me Josh Hart. I'll shoot threes. I'll shoot threes and
Play defense.
Right. Okay.
That's my calling.
That's okay. Okay, I see you.
So like he was like, we could use him, but honestly, like I did not get buckets in high school. Like I just couldn't figure out the confidence level. So,
I got
but
you.
even still,
You
that was
a Poppy back then. He would have boosted it.
I can't.
honestly, where are we?
Right, that part.
But I was gonna say that that was like the biggest challenge, but still, it was even in it being a challenge, it was something I was able to overcome.
I see that.
That was like,
That's dope.
yeah, that's what that is.
So also, you know, just one last question for you. I see you work out. Like I'm usually the biggest guy here. I don't like this, man. I don't know. Your arms might be a little bigger than mine. I don't like that, man. Push up contest after. Let's go. No, I'm playing, but now you look good though, man.
Even with that, like,
But how often do you work out though? Like you keep yourself in shape and stuff like that?
In fact, today me and Papee had to have a conversation about
okay.
About less. No, seriously.
Yeah.
He works out too much. He overworks his
Oh,
body.
I see.
Since November, I've literally worked out 6 to 7 days a week, 2 to 3 times a day. I'm down like 40 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been locked in, but you
1
know,
to 2 times a day.
yeah. Honestly, like,
What's the end goal?
you know, I full disclosure, I had a manic episode last August, and I went through some tough seasons where, like, you know, I'm 26, still 26. There were people that I really loved that I let down, and that rocked me to the point where I was like, yo, I need to lock in, and for reasons that, you know, we'll get into. With this diagnosis, typically the path is psychiatric, like medicine, but that hasn't worked for me. So literally, I've been faced with a rock and a hard place where, you know, I'm also a man of God in the sense that, like, I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. I was like, man, Jesus Christ proclaims to heal, to do these things. Like, I came to a point where I was like, yo, like, I have no other options. Like, if I'm going to achieve my goals, I gotta lock in. So that was really just a byproduct of the routine, to where the more I got in shape, the more, like, I kind of got I felt better. And then I got addicted to the routine, to where now, like, that I've reached my goals and stuff, I can relax a little bit.
Okay.
It was all part of, you know, they had the great lock-in, but really the great lock-in has carried me into this year, to where, like, it's just my lifestyle now. Like,
So
just being locked in.
I kind of want to jump into that manic episode, and like the first time it happened, like what was the experience for you? And you talked about how you let people down. How do you feel like you let people down?
Well, and also, if I could just add to that, if you can.
Yeah.
Did you even recognize what was happening?
And did you recognize what was happening, man? The best producer in the world.
Producer in the world,
Manny
just
Alvarado
asked, yeah.
said.
So the first time that this happened, honestly, like, it was a shock to me.
Yeah.
Because in terms of mania, typically it's like a slow progression up. And honestly, the older I've become, the less frequent my episodes have been, the more controlled, but then also the more deceptive, because, you know, the more I mature, the more even, like, the more tricky it can be. But back then, like, you know, I was literally, after one episode, I was talking to my sister, like, yo, where did this come from? It's not in our family. You weren't born with this. Like, what's going on? So, like, honestly, it caught me unawares. I remember, like, what's it called? It started with a relationship that I had at a time. There was some contention there. And I remember, like, having certain dreams and things of that nature. And then all of a sudden, in my eyes, like, you know, I thought that my partner was, like, sent from the enemy to attack me. And then, like, moving forward, like, basically, how it happened was I started acting, like, crazy, and then I thought that, like, oh, I was so convinced there was a demon in her, and I was like, yo, we gotta go to church and, like, deliver her, you know, stuff like that. That's my background. And then they eventually, meanwhile, like, I'm the one who is, like, you know, literally off it.
Got you.
So, like, you know, they eventually, like, you know, get me to the church setting at the time. And then, you know, everybody's kind of like, yo, wait, what's going on? What's going on? This. And I remember being so afraid. I'm actually going to release part 2 of, like, my series this Saturday. Go more specific into this part of it. But I was so afraid that, like, I pretended to be dead. Like, the thing about my manic episodes is, like, I remember every detail. Like, I might not remember every detail, but, like, if you tell me, hey, you did this, I'll remember what I did and the thought process behind doing it.
Okay, I see.
To where I can explain, I was thinking this, but literally, I know I now realize that was batshit crazy. You know what I'm saying?
I heard that.
So, like, I was on the floor, and then I played dead, and that's when they were, like, I played dead and started drooling. And then that's when they called the ambulance.
I'm not gonna lie. If I would have seen that part, I would have been cackling.
He said I would have been cackling.
Respectfully, I would have respected enough. But if you would have just played dead and started drooling, I would have lost it. I could have hold myself. You know some of those, like, serious moments that you can't look at somebody in the eye. I'm the guy who cannot look in the eye because I will lose it. Just play cross-eyed. Go ahead, sorry. Go ahead.
So then from there, like, at the time, I don't think I fully got diagnosed, but, like, that was the first manifestation, which kind of came from nowhere. And then that's where, like, it kind of started to, progress from there. But that was the first time that it happened. It caught me completely unawares. And for me, it was terrifying and confusing, but I didn't think too much about it. I went up, I went down. There was no talk of medication at the time. Stuff. I was like, okay, then, I guess we just kind of keep moving.
Yeah.
But
did they tell you what to do? Did they give you no instructions? Nothing after that happened?
After that specific one, no.
All right.
Because I don't think I was diagnosed, because the concern at that point was more like my health, at least because I had projected to be. And, as much as the mania was a part of it, it wasn't fully like, it didn't get.
Can you tell me the worst time? Because how many times did you go through this?
I believe, full disclosure, like coming fresh off an episode like a month ago or 2 weeks ago at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I just want to progress into it.
Yeah. But that was probably like the 12th time I've been through this.
Yeah, 12 times?
Yeah, man.
Which one would you say was the worst time that you've been through it? Because you told me a little bit about you ended up naked in the street or something like that. How did that go?
Honestly, like that is bad.
Yeah.
It is bad.
There's been worse than that?
No, like from the outside perspective, that probably is the worst one.
All right.
Like I basically was like naked in the shower calling people, not exposing myself, I don't think.
Right.
But and then they had to grab me from there and took me out where I was living at the point, and then ambulance me away.
Indeed.
But the worst time probably for me was definitely last August.
Last August?
Yeah.
Right.
Just because, like, again, like, for me, as bad as things are, like, I tell people, like, you go through this 12 times, it gets to a point where, like, it kind of is what it is. You got to deal with it.
Right.
But it's the effect on other people.
Yeah.
Like, this last one, honestly, was pretty painful, but a little bit more mature. But last August, that was where, like, because, like, basically the Lord had, transitioned me from communities, like I was growing. I felt as if I was respected, things of that nature. And then letting those newfound people down who were genuine people, who were starting to really, I was budding relationships with. And like, I never really blamed people for stepping back from me because, like, bro, it's crazy. It's crazy.
But do you think that's the right thing to do if you're going through those episodes? Like, for people, like, in my opinion, I don't know about anybody else's, but like, if you care for somebody and they're going through something, why would you leave them at their most vulnerable stage? Is what my thought process is. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying you should not like anybody, not forgive anybody, but I'm saying, like, how does that affect your mental? Like, that people keep leaving you every single time you go through a manic episode, and people push you away and call you crazy instead of trying to figure out the root of the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that frustrating? How does that make you feel?
Yeah. So the condition is called bipolar 1 manic depressive. Honestly, historically, like, they say you're supposed to go into deep depression, but I always ask, like, I literally just lost relationships. Like, wouldn't that naturally cause depression? So, like, basically, in the past, anytime that I've actually been depressed, it's because, like, man, I'm hurting people that I love. So, yeah, that honestly, it has been the most painful part, because if you know me, you know that I'm a man of love. Like, growing up, like, literally, I used to, like, hug people, like, boys, girls. We're talking about telling men that I love them and stuff like that. I don't know. For me, my heart just naturally, like, is open to people. So, like, to cause people genuinely, because I do some crazy stuff, to second guess that is just so painful for me.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's tough. That is the toughest part of the whole ordeal.
Right.
And honestly, I'm working through it. And, that's why I'll say, like, bro, you've been a godsend in my life. Because before it, like, it's been tough. But I'm learning now with the relationships that I'm forming to be able to be more open to, like, having things like a crisis prevention plan and stuff like that. Because
a little bit about it,
I used to be so afraid of having a manic episode that I think that I was trying to hold myself together to the point that I was driving myself
to have a manic
episode because I wasn't being realistic with, like, hey, I'm struggling because like you know, when you have an episode and people leave, there's this perspective like, damn, I gotta hold myself together or else people are gonna leave.
Right.
So like
I was.
Is there,
Go ahead. You'll be fine.
patterns or precursors that you recognize? I mean, you
Yeah,
Yeah.
that precursor that is
that
recognized.
can, I think they'll be able to with that. That can
Oh,
give you like a little bit of a heads up, you know, to say, I'm about to, you know, be in the space where I can then maybe let my loved ones know, hey guys, look out, this weekend might not be a great weekend for us, you know. And
funny.
if we're all on the same page, we could probably navigate those waters together.
It don't work out like that,
you know?
though.
Yeah.
With the red flags, you know what I'm saying? Like, I attend NAMI, so I know all about this and stuff. And I help families
I was
develop
gonna
crisis
ask you a
prevention
question
plans
too.
every day, all day. I do this work, you know what I mean? So, you know what I'm saying? With mental health and substance use, like, you know what I'm saying? And I think the biggest piece is, you know, the families need to make sure they are aware of some of the red flags and the signs too, because they can intervene a little bit more earlier. So I always have families saying, well, they need to know about red flags when something happened and this and that. And I say, no, you need to be able to have insight and awareness to red flags, because then you can intervene a little bit more earlier.
But what about, because the reason why I brought the question up is from your perspective as the
Person going.
person with the challenge that, you know, being faced with that challenge. Because from my perspective as a family member, by the way, we have a lot more in common than you know.
Really?
But the diagnosis is crazy. But
Wow.
from my my experience with people, there was a huge sense of denial, or even getting angry at me for even bringing it up. Like, hey, I'm seeing these patterns. You might want to, you know, pay attention or address that.
Yes.
And then I
Yes.
become the enemy. And
Yes.
like, why are you coming for me? You calling me crazy? No, I'm not. I'm trying to love you and let you know.
Be
like,
there for
this
you.
is
Yeah.
where we at. So what do you think about that? And are you able to recognize those patterns? And if so, or if not, if people tell you, are you able to handle that?
Long story short, like honestly, I think what we're doing now is big for me personally because like, and literally I've had conversations like, you know, at work, my managers, because they've been so gracious with me like through this whole thing. And that's where, you know, we thank God for the law and and good like you know, just about my company is like the culture is second to none. Like literally have coworkers I play basketball with stuff, and they care about me more as a person than as an employee, and that's so rare, especially in the startup space.
That's amazing. Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, so the Tuesday before I was hospitalized this time, like I literally walked into work and I was like, and obviously in my manic state, the reasoning was different. I think like I thought that I had to do some crazy prayers or something like that, but I told my manager like I have a lot going on, like, you know, I gotta get off work. So in the manic state, actually, my perspective is I know that I'm not in my right mind. But my perspective is that I'm locked in some crazy spiritual battle, which may or may not.
Spiritual warfare.
You know,
I believe in it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But to that extent, like now thinking about it, like if I can be open with the fact that that state is a manic episode, I think the outcomes can be different. Because full disclosure, I haven't been medicated in 3 years. I haven't been on medication. I just like because.
And in those 3 years, you have 12 manic episodes.
I had 3.
3 in 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Over the 7 years.
And over 7 years.
7 years, 12, 3. So that means you're progressing and getting better.
Right, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
All right.
Every time I learn, every time I improve, every time I get better, it's not easy, but
Right.
you know, I gotta do it.
But see, that's where the strength comes within your mental health. You know what I mean? Because there's certain people like that wouldn't have the mental capacity to accept what you've accepted. You know what I mean? This is something that could crush somebody, that could like break somebody. People would want to, you know, give up in life or whatever, you know, but at the end of the day, you have that right mentality to be like, all right, I'm seeing where the green lights are. All right, I see the red flags, but now these are the green flags, you
Honestly, one thing that I found, and like, so if you know, at the age of 16 is when I found the Lord Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior.
That's what
And like, I came from a scientific background, so the concept of faith was very new. I was and difficult because I had so many like evolutionary beliefs and stuff like that. So like, But
Big Bang
one
theory and stuff.
yeah, Big Bang, all that. And I was like, man, how does my faith coincide with these things? But what I found is that like this experience, you know, in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, after the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, after his teaching, that if you build your life on these things, the winds will come, the storms will crash, but you know, you will stand. So from that, I began to see like my mind as an edifice, as a building. And basically when this started happening, like I locked in with God and was like, hey, something's wrong with how my perspective is. But over the years, like you say that, you know, it's strength, but honestly the strength is weakness. Like every time I would have an episode, I would go back on my knees again. The strength is weakness.
I like that.
Because I'll go back on my knees and be like, yo, God, what is going on? What is going on? And then every time, as I'm crushed, as I'm depressed, something will come out of it. And then, like, energy that's not mine to continue. Even this last time, again, in the hospital, crushed, depressed. Man, I did this again. Like, there's some women that are in my life that I really hurt because of this episode. I was crushed, defeated, destroyed. But then that voice, that spirit inside comes again. This last 7 months weren't in vain. Get up. Let's continue. Let's keep going. And it's not me. Like that's where like I feel like
you said it ain't you.
It's not.
I know you're going to hold up, bro. I just want to make sure people heard that. I just want to make sure.
You know what the difficult thing is? It's like, what's it called? Trying to talk about the spiritual while your manic episodes literally deal with hyper-religiosity becomes a nightmare.
Oh my goodness.
To where like people, it's like, I think I was talking to a doctor friend of mine who's also spiritual, and he said like, if I was the devil and I was to craft the perfect attack for your life, Kweku, this will be it.
Perfect.
This will be it.
Imagine that, right?
And we had this conversation.
We did.
Like his mind is too, like he has a brilliant mind and he's an overthinker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would, like you said, if I was the devil, I'll do the same thing because it's a mental game.
That's
with
the
you
only
right
way.
now. You know what I mean?
Way.
So like, what are the things that I told you to kind of work on? I'm like, all right, you can go ahead and.
Routine, schedule, mental health, surrounding myself with the right people,
Major
and then
key.
not overworking my body. Because, you know, because of the, I've never been in the military, but you see now how mind over matter works to where, like, literally, I have a cousin who's in the military. And, I work out probably hard. I did CrossFit for 3 years. And anybody who does CrossFit.
Oh, yeah, CrossFit. Wow.
It's different.
It's not easy, right?
But,
I won't be in any of those areas.
I went to the first class. They went to a little training. You get to kind of know how to be, but nah, not after that. I'm good.
But honestly, like, those things reign true. Like, I know some other people who have gone through this, and they said that, like, when they went through their episodes, funny enough, like, they used to not like just the mundane day-to-day, but they found that that is what helps to, you know, keep that stability.
Right.
And there is some literature, which gives me hope, you know, on the scientific side, that, like, approaching the 30s, especially in men, like, you know, some people have been able to curtail these things. And honestly, like you said, if I look at the track, it's not like I don't have hope. Yeah. But I wouldn't lie to you if it's not easy. If to say that it's easy, that it's not scary, and that honestly, without God, this is impossible. Because like I was gonna land, like literally my process has been basically doing like a cognitive behavioral therapy, but with the Holy Spirit and the Word of God. Because like I had to look at every avenue, and I have to do it again on a day. Like that's where like now that I'm being open about it, I tell my coworkers like, bro, if you see me, I'm locked in, because literally like it's gone to the point that if I don't lock in, then like it's like a built-in system of like, hey, seek God, because like me outside of Christ is a manic person. Yeah. Like the first psychiatrist I had told me that if you do not do the medication this route, your brain is going to deteriorate. Like like your brain matter will deteriorate to the point that eventually you won't be able to control yourself. But it's been the opposite.
So every time you take it, that's when you don't feel like yourself even more. I remember you told me you took your medicine.
Good
and
point.
you was
Good
walking.
segue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I don't want to take your story.
No, that's
I know
a great.
too much.
Yeah, that's a great segue. 2023. Yes. Right, 2023 or 2024. I have to check the books, but one of those years, I was in a relationship at the time, and I was like, "Yo, I gotta lock in," because like another thing, like I really had and have the desire to be married. Okay. So I was like, "Yo, no woman wants to deal with this situation." Like the relationship ended, and like, it's tough. Like not many women have the strength to be able to deal with it and be locked in and stuff, despite everything. But I was like, okay, you know what? For the first time, I'm going to do what the doctors, what the providers say, the psychiatrists say. Okay. I'm going to go the medication route. I was on 0.5 milligrams, which is
0.5 milligrams,
nothing.
Barely, yeah.
I started doing it in March after a manic episode, had another manic episode in June. So for the first time in like a couple years, I had one back to back. Yeah. And then on top of that, June, the day before I'm going back to work, I think I try to sleep. I sleep 4 hours. Monday, I sleep like 2 hours. Then Tuesday, I couldn't sleep. This time, I was walking around my house. Yeah. And then the next day, the Wednesday, I call my provider like, yo, what's going on? He says, oh, your body needs to equilibrate so that it can bring your dopamine down. So you stop walking. So he says, and mind you, by this, I'm a scientist. By this time, I had read on the medicine and I found what was happening to me. I found that I was going through a condition called akathisia, which is movement. Yeah. Oh, you know about that?
Yeah, bro.
Bro, they don't
do this.
They don't tell you.
You know what I'm saying?
Nobody told me it was a possibility. I was shook. Like, so I already, I did the literature, and then Wednesday, the literature says like if you develop these symptoms, get off the meds.
Yeah, get off the meds completely.
But even in the literature, there's so many side effects, so many.
100%.
100%.
Right.
Right?
99%, buddy.
That's the mistake that people make too.
You should take every single one of them serious.
Right, exactly.
Not that you didn't. Just
right, exactly.
Warning to put out to people to just take that serious.
And people ignore these signs, you know what I mean? And then it turns into like a deeper thing, you know what I mean?
And
It's
that's
like
not
the little things every day that turns into that big bang, you know?
And that's not everybody. Like, what I'm saying? I just want to make that.
Yeah.
Because some people, like, may not have the capacity or the strength like he have. Like, they may have all the strength he has, but no support. Right, so they may need another tool to kind of add to like even building the kind of strength and the capacity he has without like so it's keeping that peace of mind too.
So like what's it called? So that Wednesday, basically the psychiatrist says, oh, you're not equilibrated. Take 3 mgs. And at this point, like I'm literally like dying. Right. So in my mind, I'm like, yo, the literature says stop taking the medicine. Yeah. But he's telling me to multiply it by 6. You know what? Maybe he's right. Took it. I developed Parkinsonism on top of the akathisia. I was literally like shaking uncontrollably. My parents are like, we got to go to the hospital. Literally, akathisia is so mysterious because they can't, like, there's no test. All that they saw was like elevated kinase, but you can't, like, it looks like, and there have been court cases where people try to sue over it, but like, it looks like the individuals literally, it's all in their head. Right. But what it is like when I would try to lay down, energy will rise in my left ankle. And like, honestly, my left ankle is still a little tight from that. And then my stomach to where I'll get up and be walking, just be walking. And then I literally lost 20 pounds in the span of like 2 weeks. And then also like food became just tasteless to me. Not that I would vomit, but like, naturally in that weakened state,
you wouldn't have that like, appetite at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, bro, I developed this condition, and honestly, thank God for his help because I was introduced to a certain man of God that prayed for me, and then whereas I don't know what what I read was 6 months to 2 years for akathisia, but honestly, within a month, I was back to work. By the grace of God. Amen. I was back to work and it was good. But honestly, the brain fog type symptoms took like probably till that December to really fade away. Right. Because in some people cite these antipsychotics as a neurotoxin. Yeah. And they are,
some of them.
yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
So like, that was my experience. After that experience, because of how severe my manic episodes are, they usually diagnose risperidone, olanzapine. You know, they're gonna.
Okay.
But these medications literally gave me. So I had to look at myself in the mirror and says like, bro, if God don't do it,
Yeah.
like nothing else can. Or else I had to make the decision that like if I don't take my mental health into my hands, you know, like literally I remember at the time, like my ex was doing her master's and then she was looking at like research papers and talking about how people, you know, she was doing public health, talking about people who go through mental health crises like these, like they can end up homeless. So this is in my head, like
So
how am I gonna work?
Yeah.
Like with all this. So like that's when I really locked in. And then honestly, like you're gonna talk about support systems.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I can only say it as God brought a brother who, you know, is the brother we both know.
Yeah.
Who honestly has been an angel in my life to where like, bro, he just like took me as a Christian brother and like was coaching me, mentoring me. And like I had already started the process of realizing how I processed this life was off. But he really like helped me, introduce me to his church community and all that stuff. And like I realized like, wow, as much as I had been saved for 8 years at the time.
Okay.
And like I think he had even been saved for less. But this is, you know, a clue to Christians. Like it's not about duration.
Right.
It's about like good doctrine. I saw the visible difference between our lifestyles. And that's where I noticed like that's where now, like even now, I'm like, yo, I don't know anything. I don't know anything in the gospel, which is the opposite of what I was saying in the Medic episode, which is crazy. But like, no, it's serious. Apostle Paul at the end of his life said that I may know you more, Jesus. So like, who are we 2,000 years later? Many of us haven't even encountered the Lord Jesus to think for anything. And Jesus said that the greatest will see himself as the least. So like that experience, that brotherhood transformed me.
I like that.
Like it transformed my life, man. And like that's honestly, and then there were some meditative practices that they led me to where like that plus good doctrine, you know, still working on that, like is start to chip away at the things that. So like literally now in a manic episode, the good doctrine fights the hyper religiosity to where now it's kind of like, yo, I know that something is wrong because this isn't what I've been taught, but it's coming in my mind. So like that's what it looks like. If you see me, it looks like I'm locked in a mental battle.
He's like talking to himself, and then he'd be like, "Oh, this." You tell your story.
Yeah, I'll be talking to myself, talking about how some halal is fighting me, how spirits in Worcester this, spirits in Worcester that. No, trying to pray for people, do this or that. But then, like when I sit down, I'm like, wait, no, I haven't been taught this. Like this is going on. But yeah, it's like a battle. But that's where honestly, like to where, you know, I've been transformed just in a year and a half to the extent that now, like, and this is even causing problems in my personal life, but. From before the manic episode to after it, I haven't changed because like I'm starting to be built on the right foundation. So like my default now is a certain level to where like usually I get crazy depressed. Like for me to be here talking with energy and stuff like that, like even at work
it's a blessing now.
No, at work they actively think that I'm still in a manic episode.
Really?
No, it's crazy because like usually they're like you're usually calmer after because I'm depressed. Like I'm depressed.
Exactly. Yeah.
But what's it called? Like now it's like okay.
So what do you think is the difference now? Like
a combination of good doctrine or better doctrine, because we're still working on it. Better doctrine, routine, discipline. Like basically from last November, I've changed my life. Bedtime, we talked last night, 9, 10 to 5. Wake up at 5, do my thing. And like, whereas like, honestly, there was a saying at WPI that sleep is for the weak. And then, I was talking about how rigorous my like, for me, I liked chilling, and I was good enough in school that like I could put off assignments, lock in for 3 to 4 hours, just sacrifice sleep, and then get 100.
Yeah.
And
that's
you know,
wild.
I like basketball and video
Yeah,
games enough
yeah.
to where I would do that consistently.
Okay.
But basically, like last August, losing the relationships that I lost made me lock in. Because I was like, yo, I can't keep going through. So like I changed my life to where now, after the manic episode, literally like I could feel my body like just like resort back to that. And that's where routines as human beings is so important.
No, that
so like
makes
now it's like literally, okay, back to the workout, back to meditation, back to, and then we keep moving, we keep moving, we keep moving.
Yeah,
even when I was
a lot of credence to the old saying, you know, an idle mind is the devil's playground. Right?
Yup.
mine is the devil's playground.
Yup.
Not lying. Right.
You know, handling our business or keeping ourselves engaged, and we're just sitting there thinking about all the things, good or bad, in our lives.
Right.
We start manifesting that, and then we start
That's fine.
manipulating it within our own mind.
Yup.
And next thing you know, we've already done escaped reality. We're not even here no more. And
You're not lying. You're not lying.
I even forgot this. But funny enough, like, and that's where like this thing, as much as it's mental, I do believe that it's very spiritual. Like, I think like over the years, obviously I said that, you know, episodes used to be like more frequent. Like I realized that now it's like perhaps there are times where I might have gone manic, but now like I'm becoming so grounded that like, because I remember times in February where it's like, oh, there are weeks where maybe I had less sleep and things would be elevated, but I'm able to default back to the normal. Where this time there was like literal life changes that, you know, made it very difficult to do that. But even still, that's where like honestly, like,
do you have any practices to help you sleep? Because that's one of the biggest struggles I have in my life. Is when I'm trying to fall, I 100% disclosure. I sleep with TV on. I'm one of those people. Because I can't sit there with my thoughts.
Really?
I can't. My mind starts going to places that I really don't need to be. You know, and random, unnecessary places like the universe and space. And then I start panicking myself and thinking, you know, the Earth is inside space, but what is space inside of? It has to be inside of something because I'm inside the Earth. The Earth's inside space. It's my favorite mind. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it hyperventilates, and so no, I need something. What do you do to help you sleep?
Honestly, like this is my raw experience. At one point, I couldn't, like the same thing would happen to me, to where, especially getting around manic episode times, like, you know, the thoughts would be racing. But honestly, like this might sound simple, the peace of God in good doctrine, in that like answering those questions, like then those questions no longer came. Like, and then over time, I trusted in the answers that I have to where like, you know, I used to think about the future, like, man, you know, bipolar mania, like, how am I going to get married? How am I going to have a business? How am I going to have a job and stuff like that? But honestly, it gets to a point where you just have to like, you got to put like, with the way this illness is, you got to put your mind, like, I believe you have to put your mind somewhere. Because like, if you leave it, just the way like our brains are wired. I had what's it called? Someone who described, he had a different way of describing manic episodes. He said instead of it thinking like a continual thing, it's more like a system failure. Like how for some people,
like
when
critical.
Yeah.
Okay.
When their system fails, they might get sad, or they might drink, or they might eat too much. But for people with this condition, when their system fails, it's mania. You think too much, and then it drives you into a manic state. So, what's it called? You know, putting your mind somewhere. And for me, that's been like trusting in the word of God, honestly, to where like now it will be like, oh, those questions will come. But then like, it's like, oh, you know what? I believe. And like, honestly, I've tasted and seen that the word is true. So now it's like, I have the belief and the experience to say like, okay, I can rest. I can rest in him because like, yeah.
So whatever answers we can't get or that can't satisfy us.
Right.
Not just because God, it's not just because God, like,
Okay.
you know, this.
Elaborate on that? I know we're running out of time, but
I
still,
could.
so
Oh,
intrigued.
yeah.
You
I
wanna
could.
elaborate on
You know,
that?
hopping it?
I could.
So,
Yeah, please
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Let Ron go, then you can hop.
of course.
And you know, I was going to say not more trust God because I was going to say for the people that don't believe in a God, put your trust in a journal, put your trust in knitting, put your trust. It's a lot of coping
Yes.
skills people can develop. Like, you know what I'm saying? Outside of that, people that may not believe in that.
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what I was going to bring up after.
What works for you? Go ahead.
So for me, like, you're thinking about like the universe, because I feel like I don't know why, but it seems in talking to people with this condition, we're very concerned with the bigger picture. Like our minds are prone, and for me, honestly,
Yeah, hell yeah,
It's
hell
like
yeah.
controlling it. We want to
Yes.
For real.
you know, our being, our experience, we have as much control as possible. And, you know, basically you can't control anything outside of yourself. But with this condition, we sure do try. But I think we think on these grand scales, especially when it comes to anything outside of the earth, never mind anything outside of bodies, but anything outside of the earth, which is unnecessary. It's not helping anybody. It doesn't do me any favors by thinking about it. But I can't help but to think about it. And I think the reason is, and this is me overthinking again on why I overthink, I can't control it.
wow, not to get too preachy, but in the book of Ephesians chapter 3, and I've been thinking about this since like January. I've been meditating on this specific scripture. The Bible talks about how it takes might to be rooted and grounded in the love of God.
Grounded.
In the
I just
love
had to
of
say
God.
that word again.
Yeah.
My bad, bro.
Amen to that. I like that.
Oh, bro.
But
My bad.
it says, Paul says that he
Yeah,
prays that
grounded,
we would be strengthened with might in the inner man to be rooted and grounded.
Right.
And then when I first read that, I was like, wait, the love of God should be easy to accept. Like, why can't I just trust that he's there for me? But honestly, through my meditation, I realized like this is a huge battle, and I'm sure believers go through it. Like trusting in the fact that there is a being who created everything and that he loves you is not an easy feat with everything in this world.
Go ahead.
I just want to let everybody know that what he's talking about right now is atheists that are dealing with the same mental health issue and they believe in a God. They may not believe in your God, our God, right? But they believe in a God to the point where they create acronyms. I go to NAMI. Good orderly direction. Doesn't God give good orderly direction? Well, I don't need a God to learn about good orderly direction. So they start talking about it that way. So because they're not connected to the spiritual part. So they do whatever they need to do to implement the right skills.
Yeah.
So they can learn how to manage those episodes.
Wow.
Because they need to do what it takes because they're not open to doing medications, right?
Wow.
So they start like coming up with stuff like that, changing the perception, like you were saying, in a narrative way. And some of them just go with good orderly direction. They don't believe in a God, but that's what they're taught in therapy and stuff to kind of help them get, and they succeeding in it too.
Wow.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly,
So,
and they taking advice from the book.
you know what I'm saying? And
The Bible is the best motivational book ever written. You feel me? Who says that? Les Brown says that. The Bible is the most motivational book ever written, man. And one thing that helped me, like because I lost my daughter, when I was 2017. I didn't lose her physically, but I lost my rights to her, Them did the same thing, them did the same thing. And the thing is, it wasn't valid. It was for no reason. But when I was going through that, like you said, like I was going to alcohol like crazy. You know what I mean? Like coming from like being an athlete, professional for football, I barely drank. I drank on the weekends, but I noticed when that happened with my daughter or whatever, like, I turned to the bottle, unfortunately, and I felt like that was, bringing me down, and I'm all like, why God, why God, why God, why God, And then I seen this video. It was online. You know what I mean? Because I was like saying, I believe. And then, it came to a point where I have to stop believing. And guess why? Okay. And like I said, this is not me. This is not my quote. I found this online. Do you know your mother exists, or do you believe your mother exists?
I know my mother.
You know your mother exists. Do you know there's water in there, or do you believe there's water in there?
I don't know. There's water in there.
I had to switch my
go,
belief. I had to, bro. I had to switch it from I believe to I know. You feel me?
You know what's funny?
I know God. I know my God is God. I stopped saying I believe. I know my God, and I felt like that's what helped me kind of, slow down with the alcohol or whatever. It's like, because then now I had this fear in my head. Right. You feel me? That gave me that. Yo, I had that fear from the alcohol because I was drinking every day. When I woke up, like I was drinking, I was like, fuck life. You know what I mean? I lost my daughter. What's the point of living? Now I put it in my head like, oh, I hear if you stop drinking alcohol that you can die from it. And I'm like, I'm barely drinking, you know what I mean? But like still like, so now I don't want to put the bottle down and I'm like, God, Lord, you know what I mean? I know you real. I believe in you. I know my God is here. I know my God got my back. Wow. And then one night I didn't drink and I was like, wow, I'm alive. And then, I was able to cope. I'm like, so that definitely helped me out, in my times of toughness too, you know what I mean?
You know what's funny? The first thing with the meditative practice that my mentor told me, he said that basically is what you said, like switching from believing to knowing. Is the awareness of God that brings the presence of God. Whereas I had been trained like, oh, I'm looking for something. No, it's so simple that like it's hard.
Right. That's true.
Knowing that God is there is what brings His presence.
Amen
which is
to that.
So that leads me into this. What would be your advice to people that are going through the similar situations that you're going through? What would you say to somebody in your seat right now?
Well, I'm gonna take it from two lenses. First, like obviously not everyone, like you said, believes.
Yeah. But I want to make sure you say you in this right. We gonna make you in it good. Yeah.
To that side, like to the general audience, and really any mental, because bipolar, honestly, it's like the mother. Yeah. That and schizophrenia, those two kind of compete. But bipolar is like, because you got the mania and the depression, the anxiety, the fast thoughts, which is like, ADHD type situation. Like, you're kind of dealing with everything. Yeah. But I would say, honestly, like we said, finding things to ground you. Because mania is literally like being elevated, routine, consistency, good community, reminders for what's it called when you're in an episode, and then also a crisis prevention plan to help to manage those situations. I think like those things, are part. And then obviously there are some people, having been, literally in the hospital like 12 times. Right. There's some people who like, medication does help. So like in the cases that, you don't have crazy outcomes, also looking for good medication, good psychiatric help. So like I think all those things together.
But we just want to make sure the number one thing that helped them is the power of God. All right. Now some people don't do medications. Some people don't do medications and stuff. I get it, but his experience, right? So I just want to make sure y'all know the power of God.
So like I guess now to believers, honestly, we say the power of God, but I'm starting to realize like that manifests in many different ways. For me, what it's been is good, sound doctrine. Yeah. Okay. Genuine brotherhood or sisterhood, which I have both. With people who genuinely love you, because you cannot beat this on your own. And I should shout my family, like my dad. I talk about the heart of love. Like I believe that literally passed down in my lineage, because my dad literally like, there's kids in the community. He has people's birthdays written down in a book, and like he gives them all like between $20 and $120, every time. And these are secrets of wealth, actually. But
you heard it here first.
Secrets of wealth. But that being aside, just that heart of love. People with that in your community. So good doctrine, and then also like having a personal relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, personal relationship. Absolutely. You cannot rely on your pastor, your sister, because in a manic episode, in your mind, the Holy Spirit's in you. He's the one who can help you. But in a manic episode, your pastor ain't there. Your friend ain't there. Exactly. Like, they can, like, you're literally locked into it. So you need that personal relationship. So with those things, honestly, I'm not all the way there. Obviously, I literally had a manic for 2 weeks. But, the prognosis is much better.
I hear that, man.
With that being said, thank you guys for tuning in to 508 Live today with your host, Papee Paye, Money Man Milheezy, Fireman Burgess, the best
producer in the world.
Manny J Media,
My dog, y'all.
and our guest today, Kweku Colecraft.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for having a great conversation.
Definitely.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you guys.
Good show today, guys.
We'll be
Good
back
show
next
today,
week.
gentlemen. 100. Good show today, baby.
You grab mine.